Hi, welcome to the Andrew Buckle Affinity Photo video tutorial on rectangular to polar. This filter, which you can find in the distort menu. Unfortunately, there's no live filter layer for this, so you can only use it in the distort. So I've got an image here. You can download that image if you want. It's image-4.jpg from Graphicxtras.com, so you can download that. So we'll do filters. Just go to distort and then down to rectangular to polar. So you've got this rectangular image and you're going to turn it into a polar image. It's quite, that's it. There's not much functionality there. However, of course, with all these things, you can do it in different ways. And what you can do, you can go over here to the good old, and you can of course create any selection, but I'm just going to create an elliptical marquee just to demonstrate. Maybe not that one. From there, I always forget it. Going from the center out, and once you've done that, what you can do, go to filters and distort and go down to rectangular to polar, and it will just be applied to that area. Now you'll notice that it applies it for the entire design. So what you can do, a workaround, I always think, is to go to here, maybe you go rectangular and just select, so you select that area, Control V. So you've got a layer. So you've got over here a layer. So view, studio, and layers. And now what you can do, if you can see it, if it doesn't move, the way it did that for, it does that quite a few times. Weird. Affinity just suddenly, you're thinking, what's he doing? So flight decide I'm going to fly off the screen. Very strange. So you've got this layer. With this layer, what you can do, you can move it around, of course. You've got there, you can see it. And of course, what you can do, you can always add some. I'm just going to go over here to effects and maybe add a shadow or something. It's not the world's greatest shadow, I don't think, on here, but outer shadow takes a bit of effort to actually get a shadow. So you have to really push it up to fairly limits. Click OK. Now what you can do, you can go to filters, distort, and with that, rectangular to polar. You can see the rectangular polar effect is applied there. And the whole, you get this nice sort of, nice polar effect. Actually, it's quite reasonable, I think. Of course, what you can then do, of course, is you hold down the Alt Option key. You can rotate the design, and you've got a lovely, rotate it, that spherical design there. Well, also, you can do other things. So I'm just going to remove those now, but I just wanted to show you, you can do it on layers to sort of get around that limitation, the fact it applies it to everything. And of course, you can, of course, don't have to do, I'm just going to quickly do that. You can go to freehand selection tool, and I'm just going to create a quick selection there. And then I go to add. So you go up here to add, and you can add different area. And you can then, of course, Control C, Control V, so you can create a layer. Now, obviously, this layer is deselect there. So this layer there, I remove it, you can see the layer. What you can do, of course, is you can go to, again, to filters, distort, and rectangular to polar. And you can see you can create this sort of very nice fragment, sort of twisting around at that point. And of course, what you can do, you can always hold down the Alt Option key and duplicate. Rotate it, resize it, shear it, and you can create these sort of nice fragments like that. And again, duplicate that. And of course, you've still got the original design there if you want to have that as well. And of course, you could add layer effects as well to that. So another thing you can do, and I'm just going to just remove the last one, here's that. You can go to View and Studio, and you can go to Channels, which is over here, Channels, if it lets me do it. Select there, and you're using the red channel. So with the red channel, what you can do, you can go to filters, distort, and rectangular to polar. So you can apply it like that. Now the green channel is exactly the same as before, blue channel exactly the same before. Then you can go back to RGB, and you can see now what you've got is you've got the red design has been turned into a polar design, and you've got the rest remain the same. So you get a very red design there. And of course, what you can do, you can always then apply it again. And of course, that then distorts the whole thing once again. And you can always, of course, repeat And you can do it quite a few times. So I'm just going to go back now, all the way back to that design, because I think it's just nice to show this is the RGB design. You can simply apply it multiple times. And also, of course, just before I forget, you can do layer and you can always fade it. So you can always fade that. So you can get sort of an interesting design there. And you've got blending modes as well. So you can always combine it in different ways. So it does get around some of the limitations of the fact of the rectangle as polar. Like that. So you can just try out different things. And of course you can change those settings backwards and forwards. Difference. And you can create a very extreme colourful design with that difference one there. I'm just going to go back there and we can do again repeat, repeat, repeat. You apply it about 5 or 6 times and you can actually create quite an interesting design. I think that's quite, considering that the first design is probably not particularly the most brilliant design. Of course it has its uses, but in terms of it just doesn't seem to be doing very much. And of course once you've got that design, what you can always do, you can always duplicate that layer. So you can go to layer menu and duplicate. You can always rotate that design. Maybe rotate it that way. You don't have to rotate it exactly right. You've got there. And then of course what you can do, you've got blend modes. So you can see you can create some weird combinations simply by changing the blends like that. The rotation as well. Maybe just change that. Go there, and you can see the sort of designs that you can create. And of course once you've done that you can always go to layer and merge visible, and now you've got this nice sort of polar design. What you can then do of course is you can go back to the filter and repeat rectangular, and you can see you can create another very, very unusual design, sort of horseshoe design, which again of course what you can do, you can go to a layer and you can duplicate as well, and then you can hold down the to turn it upside down, the other way, and now go over here. And again, you've got blending modes, and you can see difference, overlay, so you can create some very unusual designs. And of course, you don't have to do that. You can always do it like this. You can create quite beautiful designs, I think, just by doing that, or even not even rotating it, just by reducing it. You can create sort of a ghostly look there. Maybe change the opacity a bit, so on and so on. And of course you can always go again, merge visible, and you can always apply effects. I haven't applied any effects to this, so you can always combine. And also another thing, you've always got the option of view and studio, and you've got macro, so you could always save all these steps into a macro which you can apply instantaneously with any design, which you can of course combine with pattern layers, and that's another thing you can do. Really quite useful. You got this really quite nice design, very simply created using a bit of difference and a bit of turning around and things. Well, once you've done that, what you can do, you can always just simply turn this into a layer, a pattern layer. Maybe you don't want to apply the whole lot, and I'm just going to quickly go over here, and I'm just looking because there, I'm just going to go for, I always do that, circle, just go, say that area. I can turn around and say, layer, new pattern layer from selection, and then you've got that design there. And of course what you can do with the move tool, you can move that around, you can then rotate that, and now what you can also do is you can rasterize this design if you wanted to, or go make it like that, and you get this really quite nice sort of, I love that orange there, you get that little bit there. What you can do, you could of course modify this, apply the effect just to that. I'll just quickly do that just to demonstrate. So filters, you can apply it, distort and rectangular, and you can see what happens. You get this sort of unusual, that's quite a nice effect, but you can also go to a layer and go down to, where is it? Rasterize, that's what I was looking for, just down the bottom. A whole layer of that pattern has been rasterized. So now the whole thing is, you can't change the pattern anymore. That's it. So what you can then do, of course, you can go to filters, strange enough, distort, and again, go to rectangular to polar. And you can see then and of course you can duplicate that again and create even more colourful combinations. And you can see combination there. And of course, once you've got that, again, if you want to, go there, maybe select that area there. I think that looks quite nice. You can then go to Layer, New Pattern Layer from Selection, and you've got that design, which you can then, of course, rotate and move and change and combine in many different ways. And again, Layer and Rasterize, and you can see the idea. You can just keep trying it out, just exploring, combining, twisting, pattern, combine, rotating, and you can get some really abstract, sort of swirly designs just by applying this repeat command over and over again to end up with some very unusual structures in this design, which of course, again, you can always go to Layer and Duplicate and then rotate the design, and you can combine the two, maybe go with blending modes to create some very, very unusual layer designs like that. Layer and merge visible. And I'm not going to go any further. Otherwise I could spend half an hour just keep combining. Because quite often that's what I do when I do my own work. I often look at these things and I just think, you know what, I can now sort of keep building, going down and down and down, and just rotating until I can find a structure that I'm really sort of seeing those tangles all sort of warping in inside it and that sort of thing. Obviously, I've got maybe too much spare time, you could argue, when you start thinking like that. However, I hope you found this tutorial of interest. Always add new tutorials all the time. So for Photoshop, Illustrator, Affinity Photo, and many, many others. And also, please add some comments, always appreciated. Always something I did wrong, something I did right. Maybe things you think, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. So please point it out, because I'm always happy to, redo it and look at it again. Also, dislike or like. And also, of course, subscribe to the channel. It's always great if you can do that. Thank you much.